My mother was convinced that having a baby would solve all their problems, which is how I came into existence. My mother thinks this is a very romantic story, but honestly, I just think that my parents are very dysfunctional as a couple and not the perfect version of themselves that they present to the world. Keeping up appearances and pretending to be perfect means a lot to them, that's for sure. Even when I was a child, they would put on a show of being madly in love whenever people would come over, and everyone would shower them with praise about how they had managed to keep the spark alive even after years of being married. But the truth was that, like any other married couple, they were pretty normal and definitely not in the honeymoon phase like they pretended to be. It was just a show that they were put on too, like the perfect couple. And I realized it only when I was older. And this pressure to appear perfect also extended to me, which is why I was forced to enroll in a bunch of classes so I would be good at everything. I was constantly busy as a child and barely ever got time to relax. It wasn't until high school that I started protesting, and they allowed me to spend some time at home just to unwind. My dad had made sure that both Jerry and I were straight A students and excelled at everything that we participated in, academically or otherwise. It was no big surprise that Jerry got into one of the finest medical schools in the country, and I ended up in an Ivy League college for a business degree. There was a lot of pressure on us, which is probably why both of us are quite successful now. And while I do not recommend going this way for other parents, I am lucky that it worked out for me. However, my dad also believed that he had the right to control our personal lives as well, and my mother was no better because she always agreed with whatever my father said. So when Jerry turned 30, my dad told him that he was supposed to start looking for a woman he could marry and settle down with because he was getting older, and soon enough, he would be out of options. Jerry was dating his now wife, Tina, at the time that my dad sat him down and had that talk with him. They were in an on again, off again relationship for almost 5 years, so they had known each other for quite a long time, and my dad knew about it. But after that talk with my dad, Jerry decided to get serious about Tina, and within a year, he had proposed to her, and they got married. That was 3 years ago, and last year, they even had a baby together. Jerry and I are not close, so I didn't hear about any of this from him, but I did get to know about it from my dad when he had the same conversation with me earlier this year. He told me that he had had this conversation with my brother, and now it was time to tell me the same thing so I would get serious and have a family of my own. He had actually boasted about how he had been the one to convince Jerry to get married to Tina and how he was as happy as could be with a wife and a son, and he wanted the same for me. He was clueless about how spectacularly it would blow up in his face later. My dad had brought up his own affair from before I was born and told me that at the time, he had been really unfulfilled but committed to my mother. And having a child is what grounded him, and he would recommend the same for me. I took whatever he said with a pinch of salt because I wasn't going to let my father give me relationship advice of all things. Lucky for him, he got to believe that he had changed my life as well because I had been planning to propose to my girlfriend anyway. Carla and I have been together for the past 3 years and have been living together for 2 of those years, so I had been planning to propose to her anyway. And 2 months after the conversation with my dad, I finally did it on the day of my birthday, and she accepted it, and we got married 3 months ago. I thought it was all going well, but obviously, if it actually was, then I wouldn't be here. Carla and I, like I said, had only been married for 2 months, but unfortunately, I had to file for divorce about a week ago after I found out that she had been having an affair with Jerry ever since we got engaged. It was a huge shock to me, and I wouldn't even have found out if I didn't accidentally stumble upon her burner phone. I couldn't find some piece of clothing that belonged to me, and I was looking for it all over the house. She was not at home at the time, and I thought that maybe she must have kept it with her own clothes accidentally, so I decided to go through her clothes as well. And when I was going through them, I felt something in one of the pockets of a particular pair of jeans. I took it out and found another phone.